Most people are familiar with the use and application of aspirin, which technically is classified as a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, prescribed for the purposes of treating fever, pain, inflammation in the body, prevention of blood clots, and reduction of the risk of strokes and heart attacks. However, even something as common and well known as aspirin can have side effects, which may include abdominal pain, gastritis, nausea, cramping, and rashes, to name a few. A heavier, rarer drug to consider is morphine, which is a pain medication classified technically as an opiate used to treat moderate to severe pain. It is very effective in relieving pain, say compared to aspirin, but carries with it far worse potential side effects. It is highly addictive and can cause hormonal imbalances, constipation, slowed breathing, serious motor function disruption, and a host of other potentially serious side effects. Unrelated to either of the aforementioned drugs is the steroid compound called trenbolone acetate, which is meant to primarily be used in veterinary medicine, but has found common use in sport, above all in bodybuilding. It is widely regarded as one of the most potent steroids, far more so than testosterone or any other compound, and carries with it all the potential short and long-term side effects of steroid use, which include hair loss, acne, hypogonadism, liver damage, changes in mood, hypertrophy of the heart, among other things, but trenbolone dials up all of those side effects and adds other ones such as insomnia and potential reduction in cardiovascular and pulmonary capacity, among other things. And at this stage, you would be well within your rights asking yourself what I might be on about, talking about over-the-counter medications such as aspirin, prescription medications such as morphine, and, oddly enough, anabolic steroids such as trenbolone. Well, if you were paying attention, you likely had picked up on the fact that I had mentioned side effects in each case. This is, of course, a hard and fast rule that often goes unnoticed, namely that most things that do things, particularly medications, can and often do have side effects. After all, one is introducing foreign chemistry to the body, and it is bound to have multiple effects, not just good ones, sometimes bad ones too. More importantly, the stronger the beneficial effect is, the more likely the negative side effects will be. This can be seen from the mild side effects found in something like aspirin to the more severe ones found in something like morphine, and in the more extreme case trenbolone being 5 times as androgenic as testosterone, also having, comparatively speaking, harsher side effects. And perhaps most extreme, to name a nice example, you have DNP, abbreviated for dinitrophenol, and this is a drug which is technically an industrial chemical, originally used in World War I to make explosives, and the men mixing DNP at the time ended up losing a tremendous amount of weight, accompanied by numerous side effects, including death. The long and short of it is that DNP is likely the best metabolic enhancer in the world, with people having been recorded losing 1.5 kilograms or 3.3 pounds a week without any dietary restriction. But as with all things, this comes at a terrible cost, as the chemical literally cooks the body from the inside out. And in one instance, a man was recorded with a body temperature of 43 degrees Celsius or 109 degrees Fahrenheit, quite literally cooking to death. The long and short of this is that there is no free lunch, which is to say, that which brings great benefit can often bring with it equally potent disadvantages. The expression, "there is no such thing as a free lunch," is generally associated with economics, and it is used to express the idea that you cannot get something from nothing, and that everything carries a cost with it. I'm using it in a very similar sense, but also going further, suggesting that because of the fact that nothing is free, that things have effects, they will also have side effects, whether drugs or not, and the stronger the effect, the harsher the side effect. This extends well beyond drugs to human innovation, technological development and change, and even social policy. Generally, enthusiasts for X only think of the potential good of X, never realizing or conceding that if X is as effective as they envision it to be, it will likely have negative side effects too. This is particularly applicable to those innovations and changes that directly interact with the more core functions of human beings. Take the birth control pill, for instance, something that has had biological, biochemical, social, and political consequences that extend far beyond what its inventors likely had ever conceived prior to releasing it. It quite literally changed human society forever. Things such as the internet are quite similar. The internet, for example, has fundamentally altered the channels of human communication for good, but also for ill. And none of this should be surprising, at least retrospectively looking at it all. But there are two other related factors that are too often overlooked, but essential to understand if we wish to address the side effect dilemma. Paracelsus was a 16th century Swiss doctor who famously stated, "All things are poison, and nothing is without poison. The dosage alone makes it so a thing is not a poison," often shortened to the Latin sola dosis facit venenum, or the dose makes the poison. This is a basic premise and maxim of toxicology, but the reality is that it extends to social policy, technology, economics, nutrition, and beyond. How much of something is as important a question to ask as what that something is when it comes to that something's human interactions. And further to this point is the very salient matter of what in pharmacology might be called drug interactions. Drug interactions are just as important to understand as side effects on their own, as well as the dose involved in whatever drug is being discussed. Take, for example, the antidepressant drug commonly known as Prozac, otherwise known as fluoxetine. On its own, it is known to have side effects, which include sleeping difficulty, dry mouth, sexual dysfunction, loss of appetite. Of course, all dose dependent. However, one prominent and dangerous drug interaction involves combining fluoxetine with another antidepressant known as phenelzine, which goes by the market name of Nardil or Nardilzine. Combining these two can lead to a condition called central serotonin syndrome, which can result in mental status changes, agitation, diaphoresis, tachycardia, and even death. There's a long list of such potential interactions, but important to note is that ultimately, whether we are speaking of drugs or the so-called real world, everything we do, ingest, introduce, or invent will have an interaction. It is impossible for it not to do so, if only because human existence is by definition a complex system. And a complex system is defined by it being a system composed of multiple components, all of which have interactions with each other. There is quite simply no way around this. And it is here we come to the meat and bones of what I've been trying to illustrate. Throughout most of human history, inventions, policies, and innovations were brought about without much fore or afterthought as to the side effects, interactions, or dosages they would require in order to at least approach something reasonable, much less optimum. This is perfectly understandable for a short-lived ape hurtling about on a mud ball that only recently began walking upright and thinking. Who could fault the human ape for being so short-sighted and unwise on these matters, at least in the past? Yet, at some point in time, we do need to begin considering these things. Human birth control is a great example, once again, of how something seemingly small can have a massive impact within a complex system. With it came sexual freedom for women, which in turn greatly changed the human interactions within the dating market. Greater sexual promiscuity led to lower rates of marriage, greater long-term marital instability, and left a permanent, indelible mark on the human landscape. On top of that, the side effects are many, because it directly interacts with the female's endocrine system, which actually alters her mate selection criteria when under the influence of the pill, and its excessive use, redosage, has amplified all of the aforementioned problems several times over. Mind you, this is not a Jeremiad about the past or about the evils of birth control, just the very matter-of-fact observation that one sadly cannot make an omelet without breaking some eggs. It was ever thus, and it will ever be so. And the same could be said about a litany of things, about the internet, pornography, YouTube, immigration policy, education. Such a potential list would likely be endless. Going forward, it will become essential that smart people think long and hard about the many side effects that human innovation and invention can have. Too often we are blinded by hopeful optimism, sometimes even cynicism, as would be the case with deceptive politicians introducing new policies to placate a voting base, or just plain lack of thoroughness when it pertains to issues that potentially might have massive ripple effects felt throughout civilization on the whole. Perhaps a better way to proceed would be to have multiple, truly well thought out and informed perspectives on emerging technologies, new policies, and medications, and just about everything under the sun. No one individual, nor any group of individuals, can anticipate all of these changes that the new and different bring about, and they cannot make any predictions that will be 100% accurate. Nonetheless, if people care about the fate of the species, something I am personally very skeptical of, as I have severe doubts concerning humanity's commitment to its own preservation, this hard and fast rule that in a complex system, new things we introduce to it will have side effects, interactions, all mediated by how much of it we introduce, i.e. the dose, is something not just worth taking note of, but absolutely necessary going forward. Thank you very much for watching. As this channel operates off of the generosity and contributions of its subscribers, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Any and all support is more than appreciated.
If you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy my content, please consider making a donation or becoming a patron. Thanks for watching.